So we don't want to take a ton of the evening because connecting and meeting and going through the memory stations and all that stuff is the priority, but we did want to have a few minutes to chat and to kind of hear from some of the original crew up here. So the way that this is going to work is I'm going to kind of moderate. I've got a few questions to ask them, but we do want to hear from you. So if you have a question you would like any number of these people to answer, I have the golf pencils and the 3x5 cards right here. So kind of sneak up at some point during the thing, write it down, and then I'll make sure that you're not asking like Dad what his favorite color is or something. And then, in order to make sure we don't have all of the same questions. And then we'll be done. We are filming this, so we'll have this available, the rest of the archival materials as well.
I have a question.
The pencils are over here. What's your question?
I want to see whoever was on light crew for this thing. Okay. Those are hung way too flat. Did we teach you nothing?
We'll tell Ross Bjork, the athletic director of New Hampshire State University. I think it's his theater now. So, all right. Looks like we have everybody coming in. Perfect. Also, before we get started, we're going to raffle off an almost still in the shrink wrap Tetelestai, the original 1975 vinyl. So don't participate in the raffle if you don't have a way to play vinyl, unless you just want it in your stuff. So, do we have anybody here from T1? Hands up. Okay, excellent. I love that. Yes, thank you. How many people think they've been in it 50 times? A few people? Do we have any T1 50 plusers? Maybe Mike? Is that Mike? Do you have a record player, Mike? He does not. He does? He does not. Sure. Could you put one in my car? He has a record player. I think we should give it to Mike Long.
Don't break it.
He said he sold his copy on eBay. That's probably where we found it. There you go. All right, well, I think I've seen everybody come in. Again, if you have individual questions you'd like to ask, just come and scroll them out on this pencil and paper over here, and then I will ask them. Again, thank you so much for being here. Went to the bullpen. Okay. Okay, so we're going to the bullpen early. Okay, that's fine. Okay, well again, thank you so much for being here. It's the Tetelestai 50th anniversary and reunion. So excited to share this time and this day with you. It is a little chilly in here, but some of us are still post-resurrection, so we're taking it. Yeah. So I think the very first question is Robert back in another chair. Okay, maybe.
Excuse me, please one more.
People are subbing themselves out. This is not on the agenda.
Yeah, find Emily. Emily works here. She should be able to whistle on the chair. Good, I was dreading this. We're already a quarter of the way through it.
Come on, Cap, I see you now.
We'll proceed as is until we find the project. Okay, let's get started. So, just very briefly, because the longer versions of the stories will be available on all of our archival things. But just maybe probably starts with Joel, but just kind of give us like the Reader's Digest version of kind of just the origin, the genesis of Tetelestai, the musical.
How far back do you want to go? Okay. Well, Lorelei and I were on the staff at Great Lakes Shakespeare Festival in the early 70s. And a musical called Godspell was premiered there. It had been written at Carnegie Mellon as a student project. The directing professor from Carnegie Mellon was on the board at Great Lakes Shakespeare, so he told John Michael Tebelak, his student who had written the book, bring it to Lakewood, show it there. Now, it was already scheduled to go on Broadway. But they brought it to Lakewood. Lorelei and I were on staff. I was in the box office. She was in the costume wardrobe, or whatever you call it. And we met John Michael Tebelak. We got to see the show multiple times. It was a good show. It had a resurrection there, but they dropped that when they went to Broadway. But we thought to ourselves, they can do that, we can do that. Besides, he actually ultimately became an Anglican, what they call it. He came to faith, but I think as a result of his own show, he didn't really seem to have much when I first met him. But we were arrogant enough to think that, hey, we can do that. We had done a small musical the year before, and I knew a brother who could write better music than what I had written for the musical the year before, and he was foolish enough to say yes. Those of you who were at the show heard the part that came after that, which was we stumbled into it because we couldn't find anything else that the high school students were willing to do. They thought that anything an adult did was like, don't want to do that. So since no adults were doing touring musical theater, that just seemed like a natural thing. And they were crazy enough to actually do it. And crazy because when you get on a bus, go to a show, unpack a truck, put out your gear, do your show, get on the bus, sleep on the bus, go to the next town, which is what they were doing on that first tour, which nobody would let us do that anymore. But that's kind of how it began. And we never intended it to continue beyond that year, much less the next year or the year after.
And who was kind of on that original staff? Because it was more or less just the staff of the youth ministry team at the church, correct?
Yeah.
You kind of just said, oh, by the way, now you're involved in music.
It was Donna Judy, Jack Gilbert, Chris Marnikoff. Subsequently, other folks joined us. And the staff, Dave came on after a bit, Sandy too. But that original group was that. And the key to the whole thing was Luther Stromer was willing to let us do it. He was a guy who was willing to take a chance. He definitely took a chance on us. I think he felt it paid off. He was in the show. He played Pilate. So years later. So. Pardon me? Thank you. I didn't know.
In the memory station, it's probably something else.
Oh, that thing in your lap is a mic. You hold it up.
Thank you. That was a great answer. I should have done it at the beginning, but let's just very quickly have you guys introduce yourselves and we will have to share the 3 mics. So maybe we'll start on that side with Joe. Welcome to the stage, Joe.
Yeah, thanks. Well, there's other T1 people out here. And there's more chairs. Kathy. Kathy. Both Kathys. So Joe Valentino, what do you want to know? Yeah, I was a part of T1. And it literally changed my life.
Me too. I'm Dave Fullen. I was part of T1, T2, T3, T4, I don't know, T10, T25, a couple other ones.
I'm Don Long, and I've been in it from the beginning. Dave and I got to do the first 100 shows together, where he was Jesus, of course, and I couldn't do that, but I did Peter. So from now on, every Peter's agony that I hear, it's never right. And to make it worse, we had a live band, and they took no pleasure in making it different every time we did it. And just wanging and wanging on me while I was trying to do the agony. So that's a little bit about me.
I'm Judy Long, and I came along to chaperone Joe Valentina.
And I had it wrong all these years. I thought that it was because of one very attractive young lady already in the cast, that when I called Joe, he said yes, he'd join. Turned out it was because of another very attractive young lady. I'm Joel.
I'm Laura Nagy, and I also was in the first cast. Not very many of them, because I went ahead and had tons of kids. But my song, I Was Caiaphas, which was, my singing was so tragic, they had to rewrite the song.
I'm Russ Nagy, and I'll tell you why Don remembers Peter's agony. In Marysville, Ohio, we used to do the show in those days off of a reel-to-reel tape, and we had a technical snafu of some sort. It was right at a reel change, and we couldn't get the music up. So the lights come up, and he's just... and we're feverishly trying to get the music on, and he's... unloading up a storm. And so finally, we get the music on, and I swear to God, this lady goes, the best part of that show, Peter was really suffering.
I am Sandy Nagy. I joined the party in '76 after having seen a performance in '75. Our children would not be here except for Russ and I getting together in Tetelestai.
And I'd like to share an addendum to Sandy's comment. She didn't tell you that she came over to audition for what she thought was an adult cast. She was considerably older than the rest of the cast. But for some reason, Wes took one look at her and said, yes.
Because she could sing.
Okay, this is for any of you. What did you think you were making the first time around? I know you've been on record now saying you didn't expect it to be more than just the one season, but at the time it was just like, this is a way to keep kids out of trouble for a couple of months, and then we'll regroup and come up with another idea. What did you think from the beginning that you were creating?
It was supposed to be a way for them to share the gospel. They weren't going to go on like a mission trip where you go downtown to the inner city and buttonhole people on the street. They wouldn't do any of that kind of stuff. But this actually forced them to present the gospel, which worked real well.
So I thought I was just making friends. I mean, the whole reason I was there. I mean, I was a well, more than just girlfriends. There was one girl in particular. She was younger, but the idea of coming together. I was raised in the Catholic Church, and the idea of having even a youth group was like foreign. It was like we had CCD, which was more of a class, and so it was just religious education, which I didn't want anything to do with. And by the time high school came around, I was questioning my faith, whether I even had a faith. I knew a lot about God, but I didn't know God. And so when I got invited in, and the young lady who invited me before Joel called me was Kim Stone. And so you think Emma Stone? Well, even a notch above Kim Stone, in my opinion. And so Kim said, you're going to get this call. I'd like you to come. It's like, when's he going to call? And so when Joel called, I had just come off of an all-nighter, working in literally moving computer cards from one deck to the next at a hospital basement, literally updating stuff that I had no idea what I was doing. And I get this call, and so I'm half delirious, but it was like, I can go be with Kim. And then when I got there, it was like, I could actually, these could be my friends. And that really solidified everything about being in Tetelestai. It was, and you all experienced that relationship bond that happens when you're confined and you're doing something. I didn't know about the gospel. I didn't know about any of this evangelism stuff. It made no sense to me, but friends did. And then to be able to take that to the next level of literally having a relationship with God himself. And that happened as more of a surprise to me than anything else.
And just to clarify, Kim Stone is Emma Stone's aunt. So they actually are related. It wasn't a case of, oh, I think Kim's even better looking. No, they actually are blood canon.
Anybody else want to add? What did you think you were getting into that very first year?
I think I got in it because I was on a guilt trip. When we first joined up our Lutheran Church, Pastor Stroman came to us and said, I think you guys have been called to youth ministry. Well, I grew up in church, but I never heard people being called, especially by the pastor. And so we sort of felt like we had no choice. He called, he said we were called, so we just showed up. And the rest of it is sort of history.
I had no idea what we were doing. Joel taught me how to make costumes, and I made costumes. And pretty soon we were in rehearsal and on the road, and I had no idea what was going on. So it was good, you know, a good way to learn. There you go.
So you've mentioned a couple times, even tonight, you came back from Washington, D.C., yeah, let's do some home shows, and then very quickly that kind of launched an immediate T2 that summer. At what point where you were like, we gotta do this again and again and again? Like, when did it become a regular rhythm of the ministry of the youth group of the church? Yeah.
A lot of the whole reason we went on a tour was people said, oh, we just moved here from fill in the blank. They love this. And I mean, it wasn't Beaver Falls and Burkhart's?
Yeah, that was one of your
Yeah, Dr. John. And then like, oh, well, if you're gonna be there, you might as well just go over here, because that's my home church. They love to have something like this. And I think it just propelled into the summer. If we're gonna go to Pennsylvania and Washington, D.C., you can go to Waldo, literally. Didn't have quite the same tourist attractions. But we did Waldo, Marion, Galilean. So we sort of did the Ohio tour in that summer. And if you read, I hope it's in there, if you read the review from the T3, which was 1976, Lakewood Civic Auditorium, the same place that they worked, Great Lake Shakespeare Festival, they considered it the world premiere. And in the article it says, yes, they were shaking the show out in their summer tour. But after that, we were always in the basement playing instruments. We never knew what the heck was going on. The band was never on stage. They piped us in from someplace else.
Wait, that's not true.
Well, not always. But they all look the same when you're in a pit.
They were just too loud when we had them on stage, so we banished them to the basement.
That's absolutely true.
Okay.
Well, while we're on the subject of that, I'd like you to imagine the difficulty of having 4 musicians, drummer, bass player, guitarist, keyboard, in a dark room, sometimes 50, 100, 200 feet away from the stage. All they've got to go by is one of Russ's 2 headsets. He's wearing 2 headsets at the same time, switching back and forth between them. One headset is on with me, I'm calling the show, Chris Bornikoff, the stage manager, and anybody else, the technicians, the mic runner. And then the other head said he's talking to his bandmates. Are those recordings are online? I think. They will be. Okay, Laura's going to post some of the early intercom conversations. You can hear the show on one track, and on the other track you can hear all of Russ's comments.
That's not the way to say it.
I highly recommend it.
That's your limitations, pal.
Speaking of live band, I know we do have some band members. If you are a band member from at any point in the show, would you stand or wave or let us know that you're here?
It's probably Brian. And Kevin, where's Mark?
Park is right here.
Oh, Mark's right next to him.
Original cover.
And Roger, I saw Roger, he stood up.
I just gotta say, this is one of my favorite. No, I just gotta say this one story because it's hilarious. I think it was UA High School, and we were in a classroom down the hall. And back in those days, Bart Coleman's had clear plastic blue drums, and for the shells and the drums. And people come walking by, he's like, oh, the band's back here? Come see this, come see the band back here. And I swear to God, this kid comes up and goes, you can see right through them drums. And then like to prove it, it's like, no really, sticks his hand up, see? You can see right through them drums. I go, this is UA High School?
We do have a couple questions about music for you, Dad, so I'll ask them now. Any songs that you wanted but got scratched or vetoed, and are there ones where maybe the style got changed from what was originally written?
Not so much as you would think. I got my way because I was a music guy. What were they gonna do? So, what is this Herod business? It's like, yeah, isn't it cool? Yeah, it's really cool. It fits so nicely with Master's song. No, I was a student at the University of Cincinnati College Conservatory of Music, and I was into everything that was hip and cool. And you guys will know this. So it was Genesis, it was Tom McLaughlin, it was Return to Forever, and so that was the stuff I was really enjoying. And so the King Behold was cool, but not my book. So hey, check out this Business as Usual, which is entirely different. In fact, if you go into the Chamber of Memories, or whatever you're calling it in there, you can see a document which I sent to him with the very first cassette of music that I had said, hey, here's some ideas I got. And literally sketched number 16, I think, was the outline of Business as Usual. And I wrote a little note next to it that says, don't hate this on first listen. It's really good. We tried it with bass and drums, it works. But no, I've never wanted to add anything to it after 74. We cleaned things up. Horns came, horns went. We try to keep it so that it's stylistically accessible by the audiences we want to have hear it. But no, it's fun. It was just something to do. And our theory was, okay, we got a hole in the plot. We need to put a song in there. I was like, oh, okay, let me see what I can come up with. And then he'd write the words, which is something you might not know. The music almost always came first, and he did the words afterward, which is unusual for a lot of songwriters. But that answer your question?
But you didn't tell him about the Magdalene duet.
Oh, yeah.
I was going to say, there's a few things that hit the cutting room
You
floor.
can see that in the Room of Memories too. If you look at the original scores, I think we sent to the Copyright Office, you'd be flipping through going, Magdalene duet? There was a Magdalene duet? Yeah, there was. So a few songs that you want to know how that first act ended? Cut, the Sadducees are singing, we need a prayer, we need a prayer. Okay, I'm not kidding. And then literally Q just comes on and goes, what will you give me if I deliver him to you? Blackout. So the whole, what shall we do with Jesus, the whole what when man died, none of that stuff was in there. So that's when we went back and said, this is lame. We need to punch up these parts, make them more equal and put more drama and stuff into it. But yeah, if you could read music at all or have any interest, check out the scores and stuff that are back there, because they're all that.
Check out the fact you wrote them in ink. Can you say, ego?
Can you say competent?
In his defense, it wasn't how she performed it that caused him to change it.
If you know what a motet is, it was basically 4 lines, each had said she sang their line, and then they all sang them together. Because I could do that because I was taking counterpoint class at college. Totally worthless song, but it's, yes, I did it. Unlistenable, but I did it.
While we're on that and live bands, there's a question about when did you ever sneak real songs into the show? Specifically, was Rocky Mountain Way ever played between the scenes?
Oh, absolutely. No, the break before teaching text. We've done Rocky Mountain Way, we've done La Grange, He's Just All Right by Me, Rocky Mountain Highway. When you did 2019, we had a whole, I think you guys all got to pick one as a matter of fact. Yeah, no, we plagiarized, we're inspired by many different composers. No, it was neat too, because there's people bringing their non-Christian friends, and it was always fun. It was like, I really dug it when you did ZZ Top. ZZ's my pal. It's okay.
All right, this is for.
I was going to say one more. We already did a little shout out to the band, but I want to point out to you that these were high school students, and they took on a really challenging book and did it credit. Which now a little earlier, one of them was saying to me that Russ brought them up to that level. Okay, that's a highly, and he probably helped them, but they were mighty good for their age.
This one's maybe for Don and Dave as well. Talk about the evolution of the cross and then the cross bass as well, because what we saw tonight is not what we started with.
Oh.
So the cross has been different sizes. One year I was taller than the cross. Okay, that's not exactly true. Not by much. And that was that T1? So maybe, how many years did that last? Yeah, so T1 or T2, and one show was at Galleon. So in Galleon, playing Annis, I had a front row seat at watching them put the pins in the handpieces that Jesus pulls against, and hopefully, I'm going like, please get those pins in, because it's going to be really bad if he pulls and it comes down, because that happened to me. So it was the right hand was not, the pin was put in upside down, and so the pin fell out. I didn't know this, so I'm running and groaning, like Jesus would do, and I pull my hand out, and the momentum of pulling against it pulled me down onto the floor. And so, for just a moment, I was like, what do I do now? A, I could run. The exit's right there. Or B, because my other hand is still connected and my foot is still on the cross piece, I just decided to step back up and shove it back in and pretend it was fine. And I think that made us go to a bigger cross.
Yeah, that original cross was a 4x4, and it had a hinge on the bottom of it, and we screwed it to a 4x4 sheet of plywood. So the hinge was down on the plywood, which allowed the cross to come up. And after that fiasco, we decided we need to do something different. And I don't really remember the whole origin. The cross now is an 6x8, 6x6, And Peter DeMott and Paul DeMott, which I don't know if any of you remember them, they helped us make the base in the set piece that actually holds the new cross. And I don't remember when we moved to that. I don't know whether Russ or Joel remembers.
77, I think, we had the superstar stuff.
Is that by that time?
77.
Okay.
Superstar stuff by then.
Well, the cross we have now is the same one we've had for a few years. It's getting pretty beat up, but it still works. And we came up, I think Peter and Paul DeMott helped us construct the mechanism in the set piece that holds the cross when it comes up. And one of them welded the steel plate. For those of you who have never seen the cross raising, there is a steel plate that we have shaped like a U, and as the cross comes up, we make sure the base of the cross is in the steel plate. And as they lift it, the plate drops down in the hole, and not only does it guide the cross and keep it coming up straight, but it also wedges it in a little bit so it's not going like one of these. So that's the cross. That's the origin of the cross.
And Lorley didn't want to share it, but she reminded me so I could, that when Dave fell off the cross, the band, which I think was in the balcony, was so astonished, they proceeded to play the wrong song.
Before you judge too harshly, you have to admit the beginning of Save Us Now and the beginning of Save Yourself are effectively identical. The problem is we saw Jesus. Now mind you, on that first cross, his feet were 6 inches off the ground, which is why he could be off. And we were live in the house. We were up in a balcony, and we just proceeded to play the first thing that came to mind, which was Save Us Now. So to add utter confusion, the people on stage started to sing Save Yourself, and I just figured it was Jesus' first resurrection. But yes, that is true.
You were on stage too.
Yeah, it was like this. Yeah. Yeah. And then one year, we decided to do it in the round. And so we had to create a new cross base that turned a little like a rotisserie. And Matt Fullen was Jesus that year, and so he got to be the only Jesus who we got to see 360 of.
Who made that? Do we know?
Dale McClintock
Stand up.
made the rotation cross.
Jesus on the stage.
So lots of people have had hands and pieces and parts of the show over the years, and it's great that we have people with the talent that can do that kind of thing. Because believe me, I could have never figured out how to make it work.
We have a question from the audience here about when was the point where you felt comfortable enough that the real improvisatory nature of the show took over and then turned into some of these like iconic funny stories like Annis in a rocking chair or the fish in the goblet for the Last Supper, things like that. Like how long into the process were you comfortable enough for that, and then what are some of kind of your favorite wacky memories of things people try to pull in the middle of the show?
Chris Boyakoff is not here, unfortunately. His health is not too good right now, but Chris was our stage manager. And we had this thing called Golden Throat. And Chris always had the Golden Throat with him, which is, I think was Royalty's recipe. So, as the singer...
It's equal parts honey, lemon, and what's the alcohol? Jack Daniels. And I, as a nurse, felt totally free to dole it out to people when their throats were bad enough. It worked miracles. I knew all three things were really good for throats, so I just mixed them up, and that was...
That's why we kept having season after season.
Yes.
I was actually the Annis who was responsible for a lot of those. It was Andy Jones, and Andy and I kind of had a thing about, you can't make me compensate. Oh yeah? I'll make you compensate. Oh yeah? So he never knew what was coming. So one show, it was a cocktail party. So we're out there, I mean, there's 14 people on stage when they bring him in for the Annis interview, so lights come on, and there's always people, drinks and plates. And so, you're the carpenter, the new Messiah. Laugh, 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 laugh. Another was the rocking chair. But far away, my favorite. Springfield, and a church that had a little stage and a curtain and everything. So the band was behind the curtain, the set was in front of the stage. And, you know, he's the master of teaching us all improv, and the band doesn't usually get to have a lot of fun. It's the actors that get to do that sort of stuff. So we had this idea that we're going to add a scene. But this was so Mission Impossible. We got the people, the apostles, were going to be in on it. It was going to be a variation of The Arrest. The band was in on it, and like we had spies at the end of the hallway in case Joel was coming. we had little rehearsals and everything. So the gist of it is that who's the one that says this is the one? Who's got that line? Is that Malchus? Johanna? Yeah, somebody's like we get anyways. We're gonna do the thing where Peter cuts the servant's ear off. Okay, so it's going along. All of a sudden, the arrest music stops, and there's a blood-curdling scream from the servant who got his ear cut off. Joel's not paying attention. He's doing whatever he's doing back there. And so all he sees is a kid with a sword and another kid on the ground writhing, holding their head. And all Joel can think is, oh my God, we poked some kids eye out, or something like that. Put away your sword. Don't you know those who live by the sword die by the sword? King, king, like it never happened. And there's this dead silence in the middle of the intercom. I hear Joel go, I've been had. There's got to be other ones.
Any other highlights from anybody, or lowlights?
Well, I think one year there were live goldfish in the chalice for the Last Supper. So, and I did not break character. I wanted to, I didn't. I'm sure there were other ones, but.
Like naked pictures of your daughters in the Red Bull one year. They were babies. So. We tried to get you to crack in 2000. Didn't know. Any others on that one? When was the time that things went wrong, maybe with the tech or with the cast, but you saw God come through anyways?
Our very own Mill Run Fellowship Hall, in which we just performed. Early back in the day, when they didn't realize the difference in DMX universes, we managed to lock the house lights, the big fluorescent house lights on for an entire act. And so we always work on zero affect walk, and people think, yeah, whatever. Yeah. All the entrances and all the exits and blackouts were not black. So that was one that, but people rolled with it. It's like, great show, man, you guys really worked hard on that. But yeah, that was challenging.
Then there was our very first road show, Beaver Falls, Pennsylvania. It was probably about as big as this stage. And we had no lighting equipment. And if we had, there wouldn't have been any way to plug it in. So we used, they had a little like floodlight that they shone on their altar area. And so our friend Tom Cole was in charge of running the lights. And I don't remember how it went wrong. All I know is he managed to mess up a light cue with a single switch. And we couldn't find him for about a half an hour afterwards. We've had people hide on the bus before. The guy guy who put the pin in upside down was missing in action for about an hour. I don't remember who found him. Somebody found him huddled on the bus.
I felt bad for Pat. But at that same Beaver Falls, was it that like the choir loft was backstage? Right, yeah, so we had to sit in the choir loft and, you know, have zero act like while everybody was doing their thing. Plus, the scene, the set were basically pictures of nudes, right?
Only for the first few shows.
They were very artfully done, but it was like grapevines and
This
nudes.
Tom Cole was a student at CCAD. He actually went to my high school, and we stayed in touch. He did the original album cover with the leaves and the thorn and whatnot. But we just had flats. If you know what a flat is, it's just basically it gives you a flat surface behind you, so you got something behind you. And he went and got wallpaper samples, free wallpaper samples that people were throwing away. I guess CCAD had a hookup for that kind of stuff. And one of the things had like these Reuben, like these old school medieval, you know, nude angels. But they were relatively explicit, all things considered. And we didn't give it much thought until somebody brought it to our attention that we should give it some thought. Oh, it's better. So the first solution is he doesn't want to see his creation painted over, so he just painted over the discrete parts. It almost made it worse. They found that they got recovered. But yeah, if you get a real early show picture, it's rated R.
I believe you were asking how things that went wrong and seeing God's work. It was amazing to me. Golden Throat, you know, I was young. What can I say? But it was amazing to me how many times God took people whose voices, they couldn't talk. They were so stiff and they were so sore and so hoarse. And God, we would pray for them and they would get on stage and they would sing like they've never sung before. And that's a very common occurrence.
Kathy Larkin's first year out got to the point where her voice was shot and she had one more song to do. And so the cast and the crew backstage praying for her and she's going, I don't know if I can do this. Gave her some Golden Throat, prayed over her, sent her out there. She sang great. Came back out and said, how was it?
I think what got her was rehearsing the Magdalene duet too many times.
Why did you want her to do all those rehearsals?
It was between Jesus and Mary Magdalene.
So we went to Nashville on one of the tours, and while we were walking, I think it was while we were actually walking through the show, somebody came in to where we had all of our luggage and stole everything we had. All the people went through the purses and wallets and just took stuff. And then we got back and we discovered it. And it was probably one of the more discouraging moments of Tetelestai that I can ever remember. And then watching what God did in the cast and pulling the cast together. And I don't think we even got a very good offering. I think there was like 3 or 6 people.
Yeah,
we were more,
downtown Nashville.
there were more of us than there was people in the audience. And but to watch God work in the midst of that mess, and it was left a mark, a good mark in my soul.
Oh, I will finish the story. So at the end of the tour, we're still on the road. And somebody comes in with a big box, because people, you know, you don't care if they take your $20 or whatever. There's photos, there's driver's license, all that kind of stuff. Somebody comes walking in, we're literally maybe an hour before doing a show. And somebody comes in and says, listen, does any of this stuff belong to you? And it's like a whole mess of the stuff that got stolen. And just some random guy walking the railroad tracks next to this church, the perps that basically take what they wanted, just dump the stuff out the railroad tracks, figured out what must have happened, because it's, 28 purses, and gathered up every single stinking thing they could find. And the only reason they knew where to send it is somebody had a personal check in their purse. that had, their address. They sent it all to this person, and that person's spouse or somebody like drove it over. And so, imagine the sort of redemption of this. I don't know who this person is. We'll never know who this person is. But there's God at work in some soul. He didn't have to do that. They gathered all the stuff, tracked down where to send it to, but took the initiative to send it. And, Sandy's was one of them. So that was pretty cool.
There were also many divine deliverances. Is Ed Swarthoff in the house? Here he is. All right. Ed and I are Ed Swarthoff, guys. Ed and I were the crew for a long time in the early years. He would sit and play Lunar Lander on his calculator, and I would try to run the lights. No, excellent techie. Mediocre judgment as a young man. There's a picture of him in the slideshow. He's sitting on top of a swing set with his camera taking pictures. That's mild compared to Hilliard High School auditorium, where he decided to get to the light that he wanted to focus, he would have to hang from one hand from the light pipe and use the other hand to get over and do what he was going to do. So I'm in the back of the house going, oh Lord, this wasn't wise, but please, please give him a good grip. He did, so.
I don't recall anything I did that was
Hey, props to Ed. He had the arm strength to pull himself back up one-handed like that. So I don't know if he could do it today, but he did it then. I was impressed. Yeah, really.
If anybody who belongs to Steve Bruns, where's Steve? Probably saw the picture of a stool on top of a 14-foot ladder.
It was Ed's idea.
Jim Zangmeister and Steve Bruns both figured out you could stick a stool, I kid you not, on top of a 14-foot ladder to reach those topmost lights. And we have documentary evidence of that. So the fact that any of you who were born from his loins, there's God's deliverance.
Do you want to talk about Cleveland?
We took the show to Cleveland one year. The Catholic Diocese picked it up. Then they ran with it on their own. The Cleveland Diocese, after a while, felt saturated that they had performed all the churches they wanted to have performed at. So they performed the Cleveland Performing Arts Ministry, which is still in existence today. They perform annually, much more regularly than we do anymore. They have carried the gospel through their show to countless churches, originally in Catholic, and then they branched out. Now they do all denominations. It started in the east side of Cleveland and it's broadened out, so now they're multi-state and whatnot. So they are our progeny. We're very proud of them. We appreciate them carrying the ministry forward. If you want to see the Tetelestai show next year, you're probably going to go to Cleveland and see it.
You may recognize it. He took some liberty. So I know we could do this all night, and the good news is we did this for many hours several months ago and recorded it. So more of the archival stuff that will come out is a roundtable discussion much like this, where we just chewed the fat for 3 or 4 hours on Don and Judy's couch. So that, along with many of these other things that we've referenced, these old show tapes, these old, hear Joel and Chris Barnikoff and Dad talking to each other on the intercom from T2. Every single time we filmed the show, those will be up. The original I Love to Tell Story, where they made a documentary about Tetelestai, if you didn't know that was a thing. All of those things will be available in the coming weeks, days, months, as we continue to try to archive as best we can over the 50 years. So Again, we could do this forever, but that is essentially our hour, and I know that the meeting and the greeting and those 3 cakes that you've been very patient to not eat yet are waiting for us. So, any other closing remarks here from our
Yeah, just
original
because this
folks?
never ever happens. We usually have our last show, we pack stuff up, and we say bye-bye. This is my chance to tell you, if you were in the show today, you did an outstanding job. Really fine show.
And then I can see where Kelly is. You can come up now. I'm just gonna end with one final thing here. Kelly's gonna kind of speak on behalf of a few other folks. Oh, she's breaking the company. Perfect. Yep, perfect. Thank you so much. And then I'll give you a couple more marching orders when we leave, and then that'll be our time. Thank you.
That's all right. This is my Yeah, this is good.
Who trained you?
How's this? Good. Okay, thank you. I'm Kelly Monroe Culberg, and my husband David is here, and
Jennifer Reisling White. And Kelly texted me, 2 hours before the show and said, would you get up on stage with me? And if anybody knows me, this is a miracle.
That on behalf of all of you alumni, people were saying, is it possible to, where would we begin to thank the matriarchs and patriarchs of Tetelestai that have changed our lives? And we don't quite know where to begin. They don't want to be thanked. But we thought of some of the core families of Tetelestai who intergenerationally have made this possible for 50 years. I know I'm forgetting some, but at least we can begin by saying thank you to Joel and Laura Lee, to Russ and Sandy, to Don and Judy, to Dave and Laura Fullen, to Steve and Jane Bruns, your children, your grandchildren. Judy, did you tell me you had great-grandchildren in the show? Great-grandchildren. 4 generations at the same time were in the show, the Long family today. So on behalf of the casts of all these times, we just want to thank you. We'll have some thank you cards out for you all to sign to them. And the kingdom has advanced in so many ways over these years. You know, I think of Jennifer, pediatrician for decades, for Julie Ricketts, for Michelle, National Church Residences, on and on we could go. You know, I shouldn't start. But the way that the seed of the gospel has changed our lives and advanced the kingdom of love, of God's love in the world, is just a marvel to behold. So we have a little silly little thing, but just a gift of a romantic dinner date for you all that I will hand out, and we'll put thank you cards outside while Jennifer says a word.
While Kelly's handing that out, I just wanted to share my first memory of Tetelestai. I was a painfully shy sophomore in high school trying out for a part in the show, and as you all know, you had to audition, which meant you had to sing, and I have to assure you that is not my gift. And to put it in context, I have often asked the Lord when I get to heaven, can I please have a voice so the angels don't fly away when I sing and say we'd rather be in hell, and I have grandchildren who, they do what my kids did. When I would sing to them at night, they would literally put their hand, no, mommy, stop. So as a terrified little girl trying out, I remember Russ at the piano, I don't remember who else was there. Russ just says, go. And I don't know what I sang, I don't know what I did, but I'm so grateful that you gave somebody who couldn't sing a chance to be in the show. And it's where I accepted Jesus. I would not be in eternity if it wasn't for this show, if it wasn't for these people, it wasn't for their vision and their answering God's call in their lives. And I guess I just want to say, if you owe your salvation to Tetelestai, will you raise your hand or stand up? Praise God, because this is the legacy. And I have 3 boys who are Christians and grandkids who are Christians, and thank you. Thank you, thank you.
That was an hour in a minute. We did it. If you haven't had a chance to, I would recommend that you make it kind of to the far end of the ballroom. There are lots of kind of memory stations, some of these stories that they're referencing, some of these old kind of relics and materials and some things. There's kind of a fun costume try-on booth if you've always wanted to dress like a guard and then take a picture. But we're just going to kind of hang out for the next couple hours and share stories and share memories. Please share some of the cake. Yeah, I mean, you're here, we have your information, but the efforts to try to catalog and archive and just get a hold of everybody who's been a part of it over the 50 years has been painstaking. So I also want to point out and shout out Laura Fullen and my sister Emily Nagy for doing nobody knows what the next 50 years looks like, but we want to try to do our best to catalog how incredible the first 50 years have been, and then have things that we can go back to for years to remember and to reminisce, and even the slideshow that played before the show, like, I want to see that, but we were downstairs, so we'll get that up there as well. So thank you so much for being here. This does kind of end our official time together. They're going to boot us out of here at 9, I think. Otherwise, eat, drink, be merry, and thank you, Jesus.